everyone, welcome back to my vlogging channel. You guys know that I live in Switzerland. I am a Swiss national. I'm also a Canadian national, but I have been living in Switzerland for over 10 years now. And I get a lot of comments on this channel about, Switzerland in general. People are very curious about it. It's not a country that I guess a lot of people know a whole lot about. So today I thought I would talk about my top 10 things that I love about living in Switzerland. And maybe these are some reasons why you should consider coming here on vacation, or maybe even consider coming to live here. So let me know if you'd like to see top 10 things I don't like about Switzerland. Honestly, the positives outweigh the negatives, but there are downsides to living here as well. So let me know if you'd be interested in that video. Number one, the natural beauty of Switzerland. Honestly, it's a very small country where you can easily get everywhere and that you can admire such beautiful places all in the kind of very small area. And I have honestly seldomly been to countries that offer so many beautiful places, so many beautiful towns, everything from like historic, like medieval villages to the natural beauty of, the mountains, and we have lakes. It's just an extremely beautiful country. Often the cities will be situated in beautiful areas, like Zurich is located right along a spectacular lake, same as Geneva and Montreux and Lausanne, just beautiful vistas with mountains. You guys have probably seen that in my vlogs that I often go, to the mountains. That's the one thing I really love about living here, is being able to really enjoy all the beauty that this country has to offer. Okay, the second thing that I really love about living here is how clean this country is. Basically, if you go into like a big city, of course there's going to be garbage, but Switzerland invests a lot of money into cleaning their cities. You often see like cleaning trucks around the public places. You always see like cleaning, like garbage collectors picking up garbage cans like everywhere. I don't see like a ton of littering, I guess. I mean, of course people litter in every place. I guess compared to other countries, I feel like here people litter less. There is such a appreciation for the beautiful place that we live in, the beautiful environment. In the sort of wooded areas or where there's like trails for walking, there's often actually collection points for dog poop. You see a lot of dogs here. It's a very dog-friendly country, and even on like walking trails, there will be like special dog poop containers with actual plastic bags. So you don't even have to bring your own bags. Also, our waters are really clean. So there's a lot of rivers and lakes and stuff in Switzerland, and some of them are actually like almost drinking water quality. How our garbage is disposed in Switzerland is pretty unique. We don't have like garbage depots. Like we don't have like garbage dumps. In many countries, like the garbage gets collected and then it goes to like a dump site. We don't have that in Switzerland. Our garbage actually gets collected and it gets incinerated in a very environmentally friendly way. So the garbage gets burned, but it's not like all the CO2 is just being emitted into the air, because they have a very complex system that filters out all the bad stuff, basically. So it doesn't cause any kind of environmental damage. And that's obviously a much more expensive system than like garbage dumps. When I put out a bag of garbage, I pay almost like $2 per bag. So it makes you really want to reduce and like to use the compost and stuff, but it means that our garbage is not polluting the environment. Okay, the third reason why I love living here, I feel extremely safe in Switzerland. We have a very, very low criminality rate, especially with violent crime, like murders, rapes, attacks, stuff like that. So I never feel unsafe, even walking around at night in Switzerland. I feel very safe here as a woman. I don't feel like I get harassed on the streets. I go out running all the time in the forest, and a lot of people have asked me if I'm afraid to do that, and I'm definitely not. It's one of the like absolute safest places. Okay, the fourth reason why I love living in Switzerland is the system of governance, I guess you could call it. So basically, we have a very complex political system. I think whenever I try and explain it to people, they're very confused because they don't understand how things like that could work. So we have an extremely decentralized system of governments. It's like a federal system. Switzerland is comprised of 26 cantons, which is basically like states or provinces. So each canton has their own kind of government. They can make up their own some of their own laws. They can make their own decisions. Even here where I live, there's like a little local government and they decide, you know, where to build roads here locally and stuff. So it's not just like one person at the top kind of deciding everything. We don't have like one president who kind of decides everything. We do have a president, but it's basically he or she is a federal counselor, they call them. We usually have a group of like I think it's usually six counselors who kind of make big decisions like in a group. So they're all from different parties. We have lots of different political parties. So all the federal counselors will be from different political parties. So they all have kind of different views on things. And what we also have in Switzerland, which is very hard for some people to understand, is we have this system of referendums. So a few times a year, basically, if you're a Swiss citizen, we can directly influence decisions in our country. So I could directly, as a person, decide what's going to happen. We can vote on laws. We can vote on things to change laws, and what we can also do as citizens is you can make an I think it's called an initiative, basically. So let's say you want to change something in the country and you want something to go up to referendum. You can start collecting signatures, and you need a certain amount of signatures of other Swiss citizens who support that initiative, and then it'll come to kind of a vote, and then people actually can vote on it, and whatever is decided will then be turned into law by our lawmakers. So it's a really kind of unusual system of governance. Whenever I try to explain that to foreigners, they're very confused. Like they're like, how do your citizens, like, how can they decide on these big issues? There's many ways to inform yourself about these topics beforehand, in the newspapers and on TV. There's a lot of kind of information that's disseminated before these initiatives or before these referendums so that you can really make an informed decision. So I think it's a great privilege to be able to directly vote on things like that. We don't just vote for parties, like we don't just elect members to government or to parliament. We can directly vote on issues. So I think that's a pretty unique system. I don't know any other country that has this system where you vote on like issues like a few times a year, and some of them are really, really big issues. Like we just voted on our sort of energy strategy for the next few decades. So Switzerland just made a very big decision to completely leave nuclear power, basically. So any kind of power that's generated from nuclear plants, we want to phase that out and to completely invest more into like renewable sources of energy. It's the people who can decide, and not these big lobbyists and these big companies like in some other countries. Okay, another reason why I really love living in Switzerland, this is something that I relied on a lot before, and that's public transportation. So I do have a car now. If you live in Switzerland, it's not absolutely necessary to even own a car, and I actually know quite a few people in my social circle who don't own a car. If you live maybe in the center of Zurich, it's kind of almost a nuisance to own a car because it's going to be much more difficult to get around by car than it is by public transport. So within the towns, we usually have, like within the big towns and cities, there's usually either buses, or like in big cities, there's trams. And we also have an amazing intercity transit system. So to people who need to go maybe from Bern to Zurich or from Zurich to Geneva or something, there's amazing trains. You can pretty much get anywhere. The trains are super fast, they're super clean, very, very punctual. Like the train will leave exactly on the minute that it says. If the train is delayed due to some reason, it'll actually be mentioned like on the platform. Then we're like, oh, this train is like 3 minutes late or 4 minutes late. So you know exactly when it's arriving, because punctuality is a big thing here in Switzerland. People get very mad when like trains and buses are not perfectly on time. And also you can get to any little tiny town like in Hicksville with the post bus. They're not as frequent obviously as like in the cities. Maybe they'll come like once an hour or something, but you'll be able to get to like basically any little Hickville town in the mountains, wherever. Another reason I really love living here is the amazing infrastructure we have here. We have an amazing road network that's always being improved. Like it is rare that I drive along a bumpy road that has like potholes. I don't think I've ever driven a road that has like a pothole. So they're always improving the infrastructure. The roads are always very well maintained. Also stuff like public parks and things like that. I don't know if that is considered infrastructure, but like public spaces are very well maintained. Like if you go into Bern or Zurich, they'll have like beautiful parks with like gardens and like flowers growing along this like road, just a plain ass road, nothing special. In the middle of the road, they like gardeners came and planted like lavender, so it was like blooming in the summertime just to make it look pretty, and things like that you definitely notice. Parks and public spaces like the Bundeshausplatz, which is basically our main parliament or government building in Bern. There's like a big square in the front with like a fountain and stuff, and so it's really well maintained. They invest a lot of money in ensuring public spaces and roads and stuff are looking nice. Okay, another great reason to live in Switzerland if you do decide to live here is the Swiss salaries. You are, hired by a company here, a Swiss company. You will earn quite a lot of money in comparison to other places. Basically all our neighbors like France and Germany and Italy and stuff, they earn probably like less than half of what Swiss people earn in general. So the salaries here are very, very high. That is of course to do with our very high living costs. That doesn't mean that every Swiss person is just fabulously rich, because we do have very high fixed costs. Our insurances, for example, our social insurance, our health insurance, our rent for our apartments, or if you buy a house, if you have a mortgage, will be very high. Food is pretty pricey here. The actual cost of living here is high, but the Swiss salaries are comparatively high. You do pay taxes here, of course, but you pay less taxes than, for example, in France, or I think also in Germany. They have a higher tax rate, so the more you earn, the more taxes you have to pay, of course, but you still pay less than, for example, in France or in Norway or something, where I think they pay like half their salary goes to taxes. Often Swiss people have quite a lot of money left over at the end of all their fixed costs to spend however they want to, which is another reason why I think Switzerland is I think they're the largest consumer of like personal electronic goods like TVs and stuff, because Swiss people love buying high-tech stuff. They have a lot more money often a lot more money to spend at the end of the month. People always say, oh, it's so expensive, but if you live here and if you earn a Swiss salary, then it is like okay, It's only expensive, I think, for tourists. They'll be very, very shocked at the prices here. Also because the Swiss franc is very high in, the currency is very, very strong at the moment, which does have downsides for Swiss export. But when we go to other countries, everything is much cheaper for us. Or when I go on holiday, I personally don't even really have to look at prices, because anyway, it'll be cheaper than in Switzerland. And tying in with that is the paid vacation. Now, this is more if you live here. By law, Swiss people get 4 weeks paid vacation per year, and that's not including statutory holidays, so those will go in addition. If you are employed by a company, you have the right to take 4 weeks of paid vacation per year. That means you can go on holiday somewhere and still earn your full salary. And I know in other countries in Europe are more generous. So I think in Germany and France, you get more paid vacation. Yeah, in Europe, I think paid vacation is very normal. I think in Canada, you only get 2 weeks. I think in US, it's none, or is it? I don't even know. You need that work-life balance, right? So you work a lot. Like Swiss people do work a lot. They work long hours. I think it's very normal to work 42 hours minimum per week. A lot of people work upwards of 50 hours per week, and then they get 4 weeks paid vacations. Swiss people work, I think, more than, for example, people in Germany, France, Greece, Italy. So we work longer hours, but we get nice salaries. Okay, reason number 9 why I love living in Switzerland. Now, this is kind of a cliche, but cheese and chocolate, we're kind of known for that. And yes, they are amazing. Swiss cheese is really yummy. There are so many different varieties of Swiss cheese. You can get the most amazing cheese, even just in the regular grocery stores. You can also often buy cheese directly from the farmer. And chocolate is, in my opinion, the best. I'm sorry, Belgium. We just have the best chocolate. That's my opinion. I have tried Belgian chocolate, but nothing beats Swiss chocolate for me. I know that Swiss people are the #1 consumers of chocolate in the world. So the average Swiss person consumes the most chocolate per year in the entire world. And chocolate is something that is often given as gifts. If you go to like a hotel, or if you go to a restaurant and you order a coffee, it it often actually comes with a little chocolate. I don't really even buy candy and chocolate in other countries anymore because it just never compares. It's just never the same. Even our like cheap chocolate here is better than the sort of upper scale chocolate in other countries. And the last and maybe most important reason why I love to live in Switzerland are actually the Swiss people. Now I have to admit, when I first moved here, I had a little bit of trouble adjusting. I grew up in Canada. When I came here, I felt like Swiss people are very kind of stiff, and I didn't find them to be very friendly, you know, and I found them to be very closed off. It is harder, and this is something that has been echoed by so many expats or foreigners who move to Switzerland. If you move here and you don't know anybody, it is very difficult in the beginning to make friends because Swiss people are more reserved and they're more closed off. They're not as, I guess, open and welcoming as other cultures. They're very honest people. I always feel like they're very genuine. You know, I feel like in North America, people are very friendly and very like chatty and stuff, but I often find that it's not genuine. It's kind of more just as a way of being friendly, but then it's not really meant as like, I'm actually going to be your friend. It's more just kind of like politeness. Whereas here, if you do make friendships with Swiss people, those friendships are very rewarding and are very heartfelt, and they're not just kind of like surface level friends. They're very kind of deep, meaningful friendships. I also find Swiss people super reliable, super honest. Things just get done here. You know, if somebody says they're going to do something, then they're going to do that. They're not just gonna like wimp out on you. You know, they're not just going to say one thing and do another. People are very direct here. Punctuality, like I said, is very important here. So I feel like if you set a time with someone, like they're gonna be there at that time. They're not gonna show up like half an hour or an hour later. They're not gonna waste your time. They're not going to like beat it around the bush. You know, I like that. They're very direct and they mean what they say, and they say what they mean. So in some ways, like some people can find that a little bit brusque, but I actually prefer that. I would rather just someone who's direct and honest rather than just kind of like la 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 la, you know, and then it's like they actually mean something totally different. In the beginning, I was like very annoyed at Swiss people. I was like, oh my God, like these people are so closed off and like so this and that. But the more that I live here, I guess I've kind of adjusted to it, and maybe I've kind of changed in that way as well. You know, some things that are very important in Switzerland like are very important to me now as well. Like I hate when people are late. Like I'm always punctual. I hate when people waste my time. Yeah, I feel like Swiss people are very nice people when you get to know them, even though they can be a tough nut to crack. So I hope you guys liked this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to this channel, and also hit the bell icon. And I hope to see you guys in the next one. Bye everyone.